Good evening. Welcome back to Gooner Fanzine TV. We're at a very excellent Goal Lazio bar, Sergio's Goal Lazio bar. We're just going to have a quick chat about Unai Emery. I put a tweet out on my account, Layth29, just asking basically what the game was where you lost confidence in Unai Emery, or the particular moment you lost confidence in Unai Emery as Arsenal boss and didn't believe he should continue to manage the club. We got a ridiculously large response, more than 500 messages in the space of a couple of hours, and I think that the response rate was 99.9% wanting Emery to go and the reasons why they wanted Emery to go. We're obviously going to discuss why we lost confidence in Emery and the moments. You guys can do that as well. Leave a comment after, but we'll go through it first of all. Dan, tell us the moment and the game that you lost confidence in Emery.
I'm going to go with one from the back end of last season when they lost 3-1 to Wolves at Mountney. I'm purely picking this game just because I remember what I wrote at the time. Obviously, I wrote the match report for the Islington Gazette, and I think I put something down along the lines of it was a performance that harks back to the darkest days of Arsene Wenger's reign, and it was a performance so similar that it showed Arsenal just hadn't progressed at all. They were, trying to keep the ball, just couldn't keep it, getting hit on the counter every time Wolves went forward. They caused problems, had a chance, and Arsenal created nothing. And it was just showed to me that they hadn't progressed at all under Unai Emery.
So that was the game. That was the game.
Yeah, that was the one for me. Yeah.
And in terms of his leadership or lack of, were there any particular moments in press conferences or any of his pronouncements that made you question him?
Well, especially in recent weeks, he just looks like someone who's run out of ideas really, and just talks a bit of waffle in the press conferences. Really, like obviously Saturday against Leicester, he said that they stuck to the game plan.
Yeah.
But if they were sticking to the game plan was to go out and draw the game, which should
never
be the game plan.
Well, they didn't do that
anyway.
Yeah.
And then obviously, in previous weeks, the Vittoria one, especially where he said, we created chances. It took them 80 minutes to have a shot on target. And it's not creating chances for me. I don't know about you, but
yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks for that. What about you, Glen?
Similar to Dan, just prior to that Wolves game, I think this was the start of the demise. Even we actually won the game, 1-0 away to Watford. But,
last season, it was April time, wasn't it?
The start
Before
of
Napoli.
whatever. We had the 7 sort of like so-called winnable games.
Yeah.
That we just completely messed up. And that night, I was just watching, going, this is painful. This is some of the worst football I've ever seen Arsenal play.
Yeah. And
coupled with that, same venue, only a few months later, back at Watford.
Yeah.
When we capitulated with a 2-0 lead and the 2-2. I think that day I just thought, right, this guy has not got a clue.
Yeah. Absolutely. And carry on, sorry.
Well, I've got loads of stuff.
Yeah.
I wrote a list. Here
we go.
First on my list, why we stood around in a natural environment leaning against a blooming table.
Well, what tactics is he playing, actually, Sergio?
Yeah.
2-5-2.
Is it 2-5-2?
3.
Is it a 2? Well, no.
2-5-3, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
No, a combination of factors. I mean, he put all his eggs in the basket with the Palace game. Again, part of that run that we threw away.
The 3-2, yeah.
Going to Baku, big European final, completely messing that up. It was just all sleeping away. Also, I think he was instrumental when Ramsey took the contract away from him, which I think the board had already sort of okayed. And obviously, what I'm going to say, his treatment of Ozil this season.
Yeah. Expand on that.
Well, he was used quite a lot pre-season. Said he was part of his plans, and then for some reason, shut him out. And now all of a sudden he's backpedaling, and Ozil's looking like our most constructive player in the last few games that I've seen.
So do you think it's bad man management as well?
It is bad man management. I'm probably using up everyone's idea, but the
There's a lot to choose
debacle over the captaincy, he let that run and run. That's blown up in his face. Everything he's laid down was blown up in his face. Xhaka's probably never going to play for us again.
Yeah.
Ozil, we thought we might never see him again. He's suddenly back in his plans. It's a well-worn phrase with him. Making it up as he goes along, but it really does smack at that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Watford game. A lot of people said that on Twitter, basically, and I'm going to certainly mention
Dixon
Watford
said,
game.
didn't he?
Lee Dixon said as well to us,
the worst
didn't he?
performance he could remember in an Arsenal for an Arsenal side.
Yeah, I mean, me and you were there. What was your take on that? It was, especially in the second half. It was.
The 2-2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, again, his tactical sort of ineptitude. I was behind the goal to the left, and you could see that Maitland-Niles. That's another thing, persisting with him. Maitland-Niles was getting absolutely torn apart by Defoe.
Yeah.
And he just didn't change it. He just, hung him out to dry.
And he took Ozil off as well, didn't he?
Took Ozil off. Yeah, he took my man Ozil off.
Yeah.
So,
okay, well that's enough to be going on the
Is
start.
that enough to
That's a start anyway. Yeah. What about you, Serge?
So I lost confidence in probably the Villa game because that was just such a scrappy, dreadful performance.
The 3-2.
Yeah, I mean it was just awful. But I don't really know if getting rid of him now is actually going to help us a huge amount because who's available to replace him at the moment? I know people are suggesting put Freddie until Christmas and then have a look, but is that really going to work? He hasn't got any first team
We're
experience.
going nowhere under him, are we?
No, but
Top 4, he looks like a distant
I think if you try and get rid of him, it puts us even more disarray than we're already in.
But purely in terms of what Emery's done to make you lose faith in him, are you saying you've still got faith in him now?
Well, I mean, there are glimmers of hope.
Glimmers
in terms of some of the tactical performances have been not well drawn out, but they look like they're slightly more intelligent than they were at the beginning of the season. But they're still
namely,
well, sort of just being actually finally playing the three up front that we've all been asking for against Liverpool against last week, wasn't it?
yeah, I mean we were all there. It was a cracking game, as we all know, 5-5 draw, but that was against Liverpool's
reserves,
youngsters basically, and we didn't even win that.
I'm not always of the mindset that changing a manager is going to change the team.
Okay.
I mean, because look, we changed from Wenger to Emery, and it didn't really change anything massively.
Yeah.
I think there's more sweeping changes that need to be made at board level than just a manager.
Changes as in?
Well, I just think the separation of who brings in the talent, how the talent's trained, how the training's done. I mean, Steve Bold was the assistant manager for so long, and I thought he was a terrible assistant manager.
Yeah.
I think it took far too long for him to go and to bring someone else in with fresh ideas. So I think they need to make a few more changes and sort of get more money out of the Kroenke so we can try and buy more players that are more effective defensively. Because going for David Luiz for 8 mil hasn't really worked, has it? Because he's not exactly been setting us on fire defensively.
No, and that's another thing as well. We obviously got there have been changes in terms of coaching. They've obviously got rid of Steve Morrow and a few other players, and obviously Steve Bold's back at the academy. But I'll take your point. But at the same time, obviously there's they brought Saliba in. That was a strange decision in itself for me because they were spending 28, 29, 25.
Yeah.
Okay, he's one for the future, but we hadn't had that much money, which meant that we had to spend 8 million because that was all we had left on David Luiz.
So it just doesn't make sense.
That was another strange decision.
But was that Emery or was that sort of the transfer team? Like, there doesn't seem to be a huge amount of sort of collaboration on the upper levels to actually make it work effectively.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, like Glen said, with Ozil not being played, that's really baffling. But is that Emery's decision? Was that a board decision? Are they trying to freeze him out to try and save the £350,000 wage packet? It's hard to work out because at the moment the main problem I've got is that there's not enough clarity to the fan base of what's going on and what the plan is.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with that. But would you not say that was a weakness on the manager's part, not being stronger, going to the board and say, look, this is my domain. I don't want you to influence it. If I want to pick Ozil, I'll pick him. If I want a centre half, I really want you to go and land him.
Well, obviously there's that, but if the board's going to do what they want to do, then it's hard for him to change it. It doesn't matter if he says anything. They're the ones with the final say.
So when I mean, there was obviously talk at the end of the season, if they let him go, then there's not so much they have to pay out, basically. But what would be your take? You keep him to the end of the season, you keep him to January?
Well, I think keep it till January, have the sort of transfer window there and see if any defensive changes are brought in to try and help us. Because at the moment, that's obviously our main weakness.
So you'd keep him to make to liaise with Raul and...
Because I think if you try and get rid of him, get a new manager in, that'll put everyone in disarray. There's a lot going on. I think you need to keep a little bit of stability in that sense.
Okay.
Obviously, you're not going to get the fans on side
stability,
instantly. No, but you're not going to get the fans on side by getting sacking him straight away because then there'll just be a lot of confusion in the air.
Okay.
I think most fans want him out.
Yeah, but those fans wanted Wenger out and they're regretting it already. I've already had somebody say get
regret
Wenger
it.
back in.
Serge, do you not think we're already in disarray as it is? I think
Of course we are, but I think there's limit it till January and then try and make some deceptive changes there and see what happens.
But what are you going to do? It's kind of well known in football that clubs can't really do a lot in January. What would you do?
Well, what managers can you get in now that would help?
I can think of 2 off the top of my head already.
Well, they're guaranteed to come in because we've heard the Allegri chat for
Luis
years.
Enrique's got good links with Raul Sanllehi. He's someone who's available. He's someone who's managed at the top level, both internationally and at club level, and he's someone who I think would be a good move for Arsenal.
Well, if they can get him, they should go for him. But I just don't. I'm always sceptical of when they say there's a link. We're linked with so many different things, players and managers all the time, and none of it's happened.
Okay, let's just take a step back then. So, in terms of Emery himself, what would you say his worst decision is, or has been,
I
so
think
far as boss, as head coach?
Not sticking to one set formation. We played a different 11 and formations in every game this season, so there's obviously no sort of ability for the players to get used to a system because it changes every single time.
Yeah.
Like against Leicester was the first time when we played a flat 3 up front to try and stop them pressing and playing from the back, which worked to a point. But all it did was when they got played around, holes were created. So that was obviously one thing. The players aren't used to that setup. having a different 11 every time. It's going to be difficult. We haven't got, no one knows who our set centre-back partnership is. We played Holding and Chambers against Leicester. It's the first time we've had an English centre-back partnership for years. But they've not played together very often, so they don't know their own weaknesses and strengths. You can see that in the goals where Chambers was 2 foot further back of the other three, so actually playing Vardy on. So obviously they're not used to each other. So there's obviously that issue he's got is in terms of not sticking to formation and tactics. And then when things have gone awry, he's not used the substitutionary thought. Like we always thought, was it against the Palace game where he should have brought Martinelli on for Lacazette, but he didn't do it. We had an unused sub that I think was a very poor decision. So I think those are the two problems we've got. They seem to be getting a little bit more tactical sort of formations working slightly better. We've played some games where we've looked right. Against Leicester for 68 minutes, we looked not great, but we looked like we could
get a point at Leicester. But is that the height of our ambitions? I know they won the league in 2016, but
well,
they lost the football club.
Yeah, but they look a better team than they did when they won the league.
53 minutes.
They did look good, didn't they? Yeah.
One shot on target. He's breaking records left, right, and centre all for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, there's your proof in the pudding, isn't it?
Yeah. Well. I mean, with friends like you, enemies basically. Well, give us a few more then in terms of stuff that Emery's annoyed you about.
Well, I think those are the two things. It's not sticking to one set formation and not using the substitutes as effectively as we want.
What about the captaincy issue then with Xhaka? Do you think he was decisive enough on that?
Well, like they always say, there's two sides to every story, and we always heard the nonsense that it was a referendum between the players, which I can't believe. But I also don't really know how much of an impact a captain really makes.
But you need
to
appoint a captain and have him as your little leader.
Should not even be in the team.
No.
And to make him captain, I think investing so much faith in Xhaka as a player, let alone making him captain, has really upset the apple cart this year.
Yeah. And what about his communication skills? Are they good enough for a Premiership manager? Premier League manager?
Well, it's always difficult because obviously, you can't expect everyone to speak perfect English. Like we were so used to Wenger speaking 5-6 languages. That we kind of got spoiled with that. But like, if you look at Pochettino when he first came to Spurs, he used the translator first off because he wanted to come across as a slightly more well-rounded character. And I think Emery's trying his best to learn English as quickly as possible. I think that's what probably makes him come across worse in press conferences is the fact that his English language skills are limited, so he can't get across his points as well.
But where's the translator? There was obviously a translator. We both were in press conferences where there was a translator. Obviously, Danny Lane was a brilliant translator.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Where he's disappeared this season. I think last season when Danny was there, Emery came across as someone who was a bit more, understood what the questions were and understood what was being asked of him, and then all of a sudden the translator disappeared. I don't understand that. Obviously, it's a minor decision compared to all the stuff that's gone on, but it's a decision that I don't understand really.
Absolutely, because my thing was when I was there for his first press conference when he was appointed. And his English wasn't good. I'm never knock anyone for not speaking, excellent English, basically, if it's not your first language. But at the same time, that was 18 months ago. And as far as you've been in the press this year, it doesn't look like he's improved that much. If you're a manager,
he doesn't know what you're asking half the time.
You can surely have like an interpreter or an English language teacher for an hour a day just to go, look, these are the words you need to learn in football. These are the things you need to say. Stock phrases. It's not rocket science. There's certain things you have to say every week, basically. And he's not even doing that. So for me, it's really poor communication. And also, maybe he could be sort of applauded for the fact that he wants to speak in English, which is great. But if you're not communicating properly, what's the point? Get an interpreter in, like you were saying about Poch, and get the bloke to make him sound as articulate.
Poch like his out, mate.
No, Pochettino, fair point.
Well, look at
the Spurs manager who's
him up the road.
Look at it this way: if he personally doesn't understand the questions that he's being asked in press conferences, obviously I keep going back to this time and time again, but it was just bizarre. Sheffield United, when I asked him, what do you think your best team is, and he started talking about corners. There's just a clear lack of understanding there. What was he saying to the players? I mean, that's probably part of the problem.
Exactly.
He conducted an interview this weekend, I think, in Spanish. And it was still absolutely drivel what he said.
Who was that with, Mark or someone? I
can't remember. But it's, it's basically.
So it was just loads of applauding.
Well, complete misreading of the Leicester game.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just platitudes and banal sort of.
Well,
really.
Just sort of like things that no one else can see.
Oh, so his analysis wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, that's interesting.
So he did. I think he did give it in Spanish.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But he's staying, isn't he? He's quite assured that he's staying. So.
But then we were sort of mentioning it the other day after Leicester the fact that Arsenal. Someone said like Arsenal can't afford to sack him. Well, this is 6-7 million. How much would they lose not getting in the Champions League? And they're a long way from doing that at the moment, aren't they, as well? So it's all a bit strange, really. It's all a bit worrying. But to answer the original question on the back of my tweet, I would say to answer to the question that we talked about basically was the fact that I had initial misgivings or qualms to start with when he talked about the 5 captains.
Yeah.
It was 5 captains. You want strong on-field leaders. That's it. You don't need to go, oh, we've got 5 captains. And half of them are not even there anymore anyway. Like Ramsey and Ozil's hardly leadership qualities as much as you love him. And the fact he's a great player.
Ozil will be captain.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So that was the first time I thought, well, what's going on? And this was like summer 2018. You give him the benefit of that. 22-match unbeaten run. Arsenal did okay in terms of being undefeated, but at the same time, they didn't play that well. And they got out of jail a lot of times in that run.
Yeah.
Early April, the Everton game, I covered that in the press box.
Oh, that was a low.
The 1-0. If we'd have won that game, we'd have finished. I suppose you could say that about every result after that. But if we'd have won that game, or even been mildly positive, we'd have got a result. It was a dreadful 1-0 loss, wasn't it?
I was at that.
Yeah,
It was terrible. But that was that run.
Yeah.
You know, when you had game after game after game to secure that top 4 spot.
Yeah.
And he just blew it.
Absolutely,
week
yeah.
out.
Yeah, because the thing is, well, I mean, we both did Napoli, didn't we? And that was a good result, and that was a good performance.
Well, that was exactly what you want to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
They had a fair amount of chances. They obviously, Lacazette's goal from the free kick was superb, but they defended well for me.
Yeah.
Napoli had maybe a few chances in the first half, but bar that, they didn't really cause many problems.
Exactly.
You're away from home in Europe. That's the kind of performance you want.
Yeah.
Just every week.
Exactly, and that's the type of performance you expect from Emery, who's been appointed as an organiser, as someone who knows the continental game. Come on off the back of that. So that was on the Thursday night. It was Easter, and then we had Palace on the Sunday.
Yeah.
He rested 6 of those players. I know you could argue they're a bit tired, but you got 3 or 4 days. It's not like you're playing, like the next day. And he rested it, and we lost 3-2 at Palace in a dreadful, dreadful game. That stalled all the momentum we had after those 2 really good results against Napoli. So that was another reason that I was completely like, what's going on here?
Played well against Valencia as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we did the 4-2. Yeah, that was probably the performance of the season
they were
after the
dumped in the
4-2.
midst of this sort of like Premier League.
Because as you said, I think it was you, it might be someone else as well. He was focusing on the Europa League. So obviously, I didn't even talk about the Europa League final, but that was bad enough, wasn't it? The fact that we just capitulated against Chelsea, but it was like we all said, the Wolves game away last season and the Leicester game. That was dreadful in itself. And you're suddenly gone, what on earth's going on, basically? And Watford as well. That was absolutely disgraceful. That second half performance was just unacceptable because it was based on the fact that Emery's core principle is playing out from the back. And we were in utter shambles in the second half. And that was 15, 16 months down the line. If that is his first game, you wouldn't have accepted it, let alone a season and a bit after he first came in. It was just unacceptable. And that is when you suddenly thought, like, this bloke, it's the Emperor's New Clothes. This bloke doesn't know what he's doing, basically. Obviously, if you're talking about really dismal performances that made my mind up in terms of Emery not being the right man for the job, Sheffield United away, we were absolutely terrible that day. We were incomprehensibly bad. We were insensibly bad. We were dreadful. And there was nothing. You can play badly. That doesn't matter. We've all played football at various levels of really, playing really badly, but we still play football. Everyone knows you can play badly, but there was no plan there. There was no structure. There was no cohesion. There was nothing going on. Sheffield United, fair play to them. They did really well, and they obviously played well against Spurs at the weekend. But we were in absolute shambles that day, and there was nothing to inspire. There was no leadership. There was no creative flair. There was no solidity at the back. There was nothing going on. I mean, you were in the press box. I was in the way end. It was
I don't know about you, but as soon as Sheffield United scored, in my head it went, well, that's game over.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same
ridiculous.
Saturday.
You shouldn't be thinking, but there was no way back into the game for me.
It was dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And obviously, defending Liverpool against, admittedly, a good Liverpool side, but a young Liverpool side, it was nowhere near their first team, basically. That was just another thing too. Obviously, hooking Ozil after an hour, after playing really well. There's so many decisions that just have culminated in the fact that Emery is not the man for the job. And on the back of the tweets I've sent this week, basically asking the moments that you've decided that Emery wasn't the man for the job. More than 500 people responded to tweets, basically, and it wasn't abusive, it wasn't rude, it was constructive criticism for the most part, and not one person said Emery should stay as boss, basically, as Arsenal head coach. That says it all for me. I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but Emery should not be Arsenal coach, basically.
There was a poll post in the Islington Gazette Facebook group, which was basically just a simple Emery in and Emery out. 94% of people said out.
Is that right? Really?
94%.
Wow. Yeah.
Which I mean says it all.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about the days when it was Wenger out, it was kind of 30-70, 60-40.
Yeah.
I mean, there was still kind of people in his favour, but 94% is...
That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
And more than a majority. It's just a landslide, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Unanimous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Unanimous landslide. And for my unscientific straw poll on Twitter, it's basically 99.9% that said, Emery's got to go, basically.
It's just the timing of it. That's all we need to work on.
Yeah.
I think January is the best time to do it.
Okay. Right. Thank you so much for watching. You've heard our points of view on Emery. If you haven't responded to my tweet and the Gooner Fanzine's tweet, Like, comment, share below. I want to know what us guys want to know what you think as well. You've heard our opinion on Unai Emery. If you think he's the right man for the job, leave a comment. Tell us why. Put your Twitter feed on there. We'll have a bit of a chat on Twitter as well. Really, really interested in your views on Unai Emery, because for me, this is the first time the Arsenal fan base has been united in a while, basically. And it's something that we don't want to be united on, because we want our manager to do well. We want our manager to lead us to progressive football, free-flowing football, winning football, effective football that gives you silverware, or at least a bit of hope and shows progress. And we're not getting any of that. So let us know what you think. Like, share, comment. It means a lot that we get to know your views as well. Thanks for watching. We've got a podcast out soon as well. So keep watching. Cheers.
Someone got a thesaurus at Christmas.
That was still on record as well. I love it.
And also, Watford away. That was absolutely disgusting, wasn't it? The second half performance. Seriously, I can't believe how bad we were.
Start again. I'm sorry.